I am Mrs. Streitz. I am the lead counselor at Centennial High School. There are 5 of us, which I'll go over who all we are in just a second. So on Centennial campus, there's 5 counselors. We're all located in a suite up near the front office. In there, we have Miss Crow, who covers last names A through C. I do last names D through G. Miss Marr covers H through L. Miss Newsom, who's down in 133, she covers M through R. And then Miss Lane is S through Z. 2 other people that you and your student may become familiar with as you get into high school, it will be Mr. Hahn. He's our college and career coordinator. So his sole job is to help students with research in a college, a career, military. If they are taking the ACT, SAT, PSAT, TSI, AP test, he covers all of that. I have a general overview of it. He is specific and can give you more depth information. So a lot of times if you email me and ask, I may just say, hey, reach out to Mr. Hahn because he can be more help than what I can sometimes. Then Miss Ferguson. Miss Ferguson is our house office secretary, or say house office, I'm sorry, our counseling suite secretary. She is the first person that your kids will talk to. If you call, she's the first person that you'll talk to. She's going to ask you questions to make sure you're in the right location because kids just tend to come to counselors for everything and it's not always the right spot. So she's going to ask questions to make sure that we get you where it is that you need to get. We also tend to send kids through her and parents through her because there's 2,100 kids on our campus. There's only 5 of us, and if it's an emergency and I'm busy, she's going to go find someone who can help you. So she is usually the point of contact. I say call her so that way we can get you to the right person. High school is specific on what classes you have to graduate. Big thing is core classes. Every single year your kids in high school, they're going to take an English, a math, a science, and a social studies. English is straightforward. It's English 1, 2, 3, or 4. Your kid's going to choose if they want to do the pre-AP, AP route, or if they're going to stay on level. I tell my families, if you're in honors classes right now and your kid's doing really well at Kerr, stay in that route. Do the pre-AP classes. If your student's in on level and they're just doing fine, stay in on level. High school is different. Don't overwhelm your kid. Leave them in the on level. If your kid's in on level and making straight 100s and you want to challenge them, by all means, you can move into the pre-AP route if you'd like. The other thing is electives. State says your student has to have 1 year of a fine art, 1 year of a PE, 2 years of the same language, and 6 elective credits, which is where their endorsement comes in. The state says that your student needs to be CCR, college and career ready, when they graduate high school, and they can get that by having an endorsement. And basically an endorsement, the way I explain it is, it's a major in high school. It's not saying that that's what they have to go do the rest of their life or go to college for, but it's their focus while they're in high school. So they're going to choose a pathway that interests them, whether that be auto body, cosmetology, culinary, health science. And they're going to start at their freshman year, take all 4 years, and by their senior year, they're going to be college career ready. Some of your students may actually have a certification and a job skill that they can now go out into the workforce and be successful. I have some kids that are in culinary right now that they are not going to culinary school. But that's what they chose to do in high school. They're getting a certification out of it that they can go work at a restaurant while they're going to college and getting their degree in something else. We just need to make sure that your kid gets some sort of endorsement so they mark that box to graduate high school. We have multidisciplinary, which is just your academic route. So if your kid does not want to do like health science or one of those, but they want to focus on their AP classes and their academics, they can choose to be multidisciplinary. If your student likes math and science, they can be STEM. They would take 5 years of math or 5 years of science, but of those, they have to have Algebra 2 in that, and they have to have physics in that. So we just have to make sure we build specifically certain classes in their schedule. Then we have public service, which is where fire, teaching, Cosmo, law enforcement, and health science comes in. We have business and industry, which is where your ag, culinary, and construction classes come in. Then we have your fine arts, which is your arts and humanities. So if they want to do band, art, choir, theater, all 4 years, they're more than welcome to do that as well. This, to me, is the most important slide and the most important information that I want all families to take out of it. Because I want you to make sure your students understand high school is different than elementary and middle school. So in high school, it's all about getting your student to 26 credits. They get to those 26 credits by passing class and going to class. Students can pass a class but have 15 absences, and the state will take their credit away, and they either have to do attendance recovery or retake the class. Then they don't get that credit until they earn it back. Your student has to pass the class. That means 70 or higher. If they fail, they don't get the credit and they have to do summer school or retake it the following year. Every single year, your student's going to take 7 classes. That means they have the opportunity to earn 7 credits. As long as they pass all of them, by the end of their 9th grade year, they will have 7 credits. They only need 6 to be classified a 10th grader. If they fail 3 of those classes and they only earn 3 credits or 4 credits, they're going to see 9th grade on their schedule again next year. And that really shocks some of my kids when they're like, why does it still say 9th grade? I'm on my 2nd year of high school. Because unfortunately you didn't pass, you didn't earn the credits, so therefore we cannot put 10th grade on your schedule. So it really is important that you talk with your kids that high school is just a different world. You have to go to class and pass the classes to get your credits. Now, we do our best to reward your kids because if they earn 7 credits every single year, by the time they get to senior year, they're on track to have 28 to 30 credits. Well, they only need 26. So the goal is that if they don't need 2 extra classes, we will give them an out period instead, and possibly 2. That means they can get out of school early or come to school late, and seniors love that. If something happens and your student fails, we offer summer school, and we will help your kid get back that credit. They have to understand they will be retaking it until they get it. Then the next thing that students need to understand is STAR tests. In high school, the state says that there are 5 EOC STAR tests that your student has to take and has to pass. There's no waiver, there's no exemption. You have to take them or you do not walk across that stage. The state will not give you a diploma. That is English 1, Algebra 1, English 2, Biology, and U.S. History. Typically, your kids will take 2 freshman year, 2 sophomore year, 1 junior year. You have some kids that are taking Algebra 1, Biology, and English their freshman year, so they'll take all 3 freshman year. If you fail, it happens. If you're absent or sick and you miss it, it happens. You will just retake it next semester until you pass. Okay, so next thing is GPA, which is a grade point average, and it determines your student's class rank. This is how they start applying to colleges. For your students, the only thing that's going to calculate into their GPA points, everything they get credit for, but the only thing that calculates in their GPA are their core classes, their language class, and if they take something that's AP, dual credit, pre-AP. So that means football doesn't count. It gives them the credit, but it does not calculate into that GPA, their class rank. So if you have a student who, like my son, that we are watching every GPA point because he's stupid smart and wants to go to these crazy colleges, we're going to build some extra classes in his schedule that will be for GPA points, which I'll talk about some options that we have. It also matters what level of class you take. If you take an AP or a dual credit class, that is a 5.0 scale. So you get higher GPA points. If you take a pre-AP class or honors class, it's a 4.5, and anything on level is just a 4.0. Then their grade specifically matters. So if they make a 70, they're not going to get full 4-point GPA points. They may only get 2.4. So their grade actually matters on how many points they get towards their GPA. We really start looking at GPA more intently their sophomore year. Freshman year, they're just getting here, they're just getting established, they have their baseline. Then we start seeing what we need to do to change that come in their 10th grade year if we want to up it, and we have more specific conversations. So differences in the levels, we have dual credit, AP, and on-ramps. So if your student wants to take a dual credit class, I did just find out a few minutes ago, it is a little bit cheaper than what's up here. It's about $175 instead of $300 per semester. But when they take this class, it's taught by a high school teacher at Centennial who also teaches through Hill College. As long as they take the class, they pass it, they get both high school and college credit. But their grade's going to matter because that is their college transcript in high school. So they really need to pay attention to their grade because they're starting their college transcript. But there's no big test. You just pay for it, they pass it, they get both credits. Whereas AP is different. You take the class, you pass it, you get high school credit. But at the very end of the class, there's a big test called an AP exam. Costs about $100. And if you make a 3 or higher, then you get your college credits. If you don't, you just don't get the college credit, you only get your high school credit. AP exams are not required. I have some kids that take an AP class, but they don't want to take a test. Completely fine, you don't have to. They just want to take the harder class. Then we have what's called on-ramps. These are our dual enrollment classes. We only have a couple of those, and this is a true college class. It is one of the hardest classes we have on campus because it is a class that's taught through UT Austin professor on the computer. That's who grades their work. That's who teaches them the material with a Centennial teacher there to help. They are facilitating, they are guiding, but the teacher on the computer through UT Austin is the teacher of record. That is who is grading their work. That is also a true college class. These kids, they're on-ramps Algebra 2 this year. The first week of school, they had 8 assignments due. So it is a much higher level, and you need to make sure that your kids are ready for that because it's significantly faster pace than any of our other classes. I recommend it for any of our accelerated honors kids. I think it's great. It's only about $150 for the whole year, but make sure that your kid's ready for that level when they choose to take that class. Okay, specifics, and this is what your kids are going to work on their 4-year plan. English, like I said, straightforward. You got 1, 2, 3, or 4. If your student's in honors English right now at Kerr, they're doing really well, stick with the pre-AP route. Put them in pre-AP English 1, English 2. Choose for you guys if y'all want to do the dual credit AP route their junior, senior year. Please know that just because you choose something right now does not mean it's set in stone. We will look at this every single year with your kids. We can make changes based off of how they're doing once they get there and like edit it if we need to. So just know that it's not set in stone. If they are in an on-level English class and they're just doing fine and you don't want to push them too much, don't push them too much. Let them stay in the on-level for next year. Math is where it gets a little more specific. All students have to take Algebra 1 and Geometry. Our district pushes them to Algebra 2 next because it's the next easiest level of math. Stats, pre-cal, all have Algebra 2 in it. So if a student jumps from geometry into stats, a lot of times those kids are not successful because they hadn't taken Algebra 2 yet. So while, yeah, the state says you don't have to have Algebra 2, for the math options that we have, it's the next logical math class. So we typically have all students take Algebra 2 next. Then they can choose any fourth math they would like. We talk to them and see where their level is. If they want to push themselves or if they want an easy math, we let them choose from there. Science, you have to take biology and you have to take chemistry. Some of your kids will go into IPC next year because maybe the science is not their strong suit, but then they can choose any science that they want as well. We have lots of science options on our campus. We have kids who are in the law enforcement track that love forensic science. We have kids who are in the health track that do anatomy, physiology. I let your kids just kind of choose, and honestly what they choose today is not necessarily going to be what they want to take that junior, senior year because they're going to change. Right now our dual credit science class is anatomy, physiology. Last year it was biology. We're hoping next year it's still anatomy. We've been told that it's supposed to be, but it could change. So usually I check with those kids that sign up for the dual credit science class and ask them once I know for sure what it is, hey, is this still the science that you want or do you want to switch? Just because we don't always know right away what we're going to offer. History is the one I get the most questions on. So if your student is on level history right now at Kerr, they're going to go into world geography next year. Then it'll be world history, U.S. history, government economics. That one's easy. If your student is in honors history right now, they're going to go into pre-AP world history for their freshman year and then AP world history their sophomore year. They are two different classes. They're not retaking the same class. They're building on their first class. But as a sophomore, it's their first AP class. So make sure your student is ready for that first AP class because it is harder. Then they'll go into either AP dual credit for US and government economics, just depending on which one they choose for their sophomore year. This is the specifics on PE. So the state says, again, you have to have 1 year of PE. If you're in athletics all 4 years, you got your PE credit. If your student is not an athlete and they want to just do regular PE, we have two options. We have traditional PE or outdoor recreation, which is where you get to learn how to hunt, fish, all kinds of just outdoorsy type stuff. But if your kid is adamant they don't want PE, you have to have something. We do have substitutions. So if your student makes the drill team, not just dance class, actually makes the drill team, that is a PE credit. Cheer is a PE credit. Marching band for 2 years will be their PE credit because they get it in the fall. And then JROTC counts as a PE credit. And also I forgot to list up their show choir. So if your student does show choir, that because it's an after school extra credit thing, we give them PE credit for that. Fine arts, we have dance, band, choir, theater, art, and floral design. Floral design is flower arrangements. Typically we save that class for our ag kids who are actually taking like welding or vet med and stuff because it falls in that same family. But it is an option out there if your kids don't want a traditional art class. It's something different. Kids enjoy it. And then again, our only language on our campus is Spanish. We used to offer ASL. Unfortunately, we don't any longer. So if your student's already in Spanish 1 right now, they'll take Spanish 2 next year. If they're not, I recommend either start at freshman or sophomore year because they have to have 2 years of it. And we want to have time to get both of those in before they graduate. Hopefully, we can get another language back. But at the moment, all it is Spanish. If your student is looking at GPA points and they want the electives to get a step up from someone else, these are the only electives that are AP that will calculate into their GPA. Starting sophomore year, they are welcome to start taking AP Research and AP Seminar. We have dual credit Texas Government. They can take their junior or senior year as an elective. We have all the way up to AP Spanish 4, AP Music Theory their junior or senior year, AP Art, and then a new one we're going to offer next year, starting freshman year, is dual credit art. So if your student is really good at art and they think they want to go ahead and take their first dual credit class, that is one that we'll have available starting freshman year. Or they can take it later, but it's an option for them, and it'll calculate into their GPA. Then the last part is I send families, when you're looking at electives and what do we have, this screen is really hard to see. So I typically tell families, go to our CTE website. When you go to it, it breaks classes down according to the pathway that you're interested in and will tell you exactly what year and what class to take. And if there's a prerequisite for it. Because like Fire Academy, you have to take anatomy, physiology, and biology. But all that stuff is listed on the CTE website, so you can actually look specifically at what classes you want, and it lists the classes that we offer on our campus. Please also know that some classes are cross, and that means that they can take them, they go to Centennial, they can take them, but it may not be housed at our campus. We would bus them here, and we bus them back. So cosmetology, auto body, computer maintenance, construction. We are here at this campus at VHS. Your kid absolutely can take those classes. They'll get on a bus, we'll bus them over, they'll take the class, and then we'll bus them back. So just know that truly all things are open to your kids, and we can get them back and forth.